on to the last segment, and we were just speaking about propaganda. Do you love that your escapist entertainment that you were supposed to spend your spare time playing and enjoying is now all purely propaganda? Do you enjoy seeing
play modern video games?
No, that's probably the best idea, really. What about you, Callum?
God, no, I don't either.
No, and the
last video game I played was Medieval 2 Total War, which came out in like 2006.
Fair play, very based option.
Well, it's a great game. I mean,
yeah, it is good.
Yeah,
the game hasn't changed.
And you're just like Shogun 2. Ugh.
Yeah, it's too foreign.
Comes with guns.
Yeah, but no, exactly. That's why I don't like it.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, and as part of this,
doesn't have crusades.
We'll discuss something else as well as just the propagandistic elements of everything these days. I will also briefly touch on video game graphics because Callum, we had this discussion earlier this year when we were talking about J.K. Rowling's legacy and transphobes' legacy
in video games.
Yeah, and you were talking about graphical fidelity and the clarity of the image. Basically just declining and declining and declining in the arms race to get the shiniest, most prettiest graphics with all of the sparkly effects on them.
So real. It's real, though.
It's so real.
I can't see anything on screen.
I've really come around to your position on this. I have to say, because I've been playing a lot more old games recently, and it's nice just being able to tell what the hell I'm looking at.
Color contrast.
Yeah, not everything being a desaturated, grey, lens-flared mess like a J.J. Abrams movie.
But it's not even because you can do... This is one of the criticisms I hate of Fallout 3, where they're like, oh, it's grey. It's like, yeah, it's a post-apocalypse, you moron. But it's that ability to tell what is an enemy, what is an object, what you can go and see. I don't know what the correct wording is.
It's instantly recognizable visual design.
Yeah, and people have made endless video essays on Valve's particularly perfect work when it comes to Team Fortress 2.
Designing the silhouette was what they really wanted for Team Fortress 2.
But it's the colors, the type of colors you use. There is a weird amount of thought that Valve put into that example. But then
it shouldn't to a modern be weird, though. It should be the basic amount of thought that you
go to a modern video game and it's just, yeah, but it looks real. I'm like, it doesn't.
But even
don't do that.
In the race to look as real as possible, we have hit uncanny valley territory where the more realistic you try and make it look, the more it highlights all of the not realistic aspects of the way that faces are moving.
But also, there's this weird element of like red herring to it as well. Like, so I'm a big Total War fan, and I'm most disappointed by Pharaoh Total War. I didn't buy it, thank God. I watched everyone else's reviews of it, and they were like, "Oh my God, what is going on?" And like, zooming out is a great example where you've got just masses of men, but there's no color distinction. They're just some variant of brown on a brown terrain. And it's just like, okay, what is going on? But then if you look at like all of the promo stuff and like the main menus and stuff, it's these incredibly high detailed, high definition, like characters of the thing. And it's like, that was such a waste of money. You know, like,
who plays Rome Total War and then zooms in to see the graphical fidelity of your legion? No, you see the blocks fighting.
Sure, but even if you're a bit closer or something, fine. Yeah, okay, it's fine. It's understandable to make the individual soldier
nice, but not photorealistic.
Go and make him look photorealistic if you have to.
Okay,
right? I don't care. Why have you spent all of this money making photorealistic ancient Egyptian commanders? No one cares. That's not what the game's about. That was a total diversion. And then you look, just all of the sort of high definition graphics that don't apply to the actual play of the game itself. It's such a red herring. It's such a waste of time and money. And it's not like the game was any good anyway. So why did you bother? And the sales speak for themselves.
I think what matters, if you want to present it with the advertising and all of the nice flashy features that will draw people in eventually, and then make sure that the game, when you're actually playing the game, doesn't need to be anywhere near as high detail as you're talking about. Just make sure that there's a level of clarity where I can tell what I'm looking at, and that the gameplay is fun. And then you make all of that other bells and whistles around it worth it.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would think so. But the game designers aren't intent on making games fun anymore. And our escapism isn't escapism anymore. Because I was shocked.
Just a quick thing before you go on, right? Yeah. That nothing hammers this point home more than Pharaoh Total War, actually, right? Because
I haven't played it.
I haven't played it either, right? I've played Troy.
It has really annoyed you.
No, I've played Troy Total War, so I basically have played Pharaoh Total War because it's literally just a reskin of that. But the numbers are what shows it, right? On average per day, there's about 5,500 people playing Medieval 2 Total War, and there's about 2,500 people playing Pharaoh.
There's 200,000 people playing TF2 right now.
Sure,
I
and
don't have to look it up.
Of course,
yeah, there are there are
TF2
loads
is
more
a
for
more-
other
No, but it speaks to the solidness of the gameplay. If you make
Yeah.
a game that's that solid, doesn't matter how much time will pass, people are still
Yeah,
playing.
it has longevity. People still go back and play the original Half-Life with all sorts of mods to try and make it look nicer, but you can still just play it because the
it's
gameplay
fun.
lasts. The gameplay lasted to the point where you can still enjoy it as an experience over 25 years later. But what I don't think will last is stuff like the newest Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation 5, which I played the first one when it came out on PlayStation 4 back in 2018. There was a lot of time I spent at university playing that when I should have been doing work. But that's the university experience, realistically. And it was an okay game. It wasn't Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2, but it was an okay game, had a decent story, and it was fun. And then I see, I know, right? Remarkable. And then I see this, and I think, no, this can't be real. It's a 4chan post. This can't be real. So it's Spider-Man 2, and it's
Let me read this.
yeah, go on.
Has so much positive energy and progressive political messaging. At one point, I actually found my cheeks hurt from prolonged grinning as you swing through the game's immense and detailed virtual New York. God, who wants to see a detailed virtual New York? You'll take in a fantastically diverse city filled with people of various ages, gender identities, physical abilities, and skin color, all just living their lives. There are cultural street festivals, such as rats cooking, dancing cooking that you can almost smell, rainbow and Ukrainian
smell the
flags hang in
feces.
front of stores.
That can't be real.
People speak in the languages in which they are fluent, which means that Spanish, English, or ASL.
I looked into that. It's American Sign
Sign
Language. Yeah.
And the missions often up the positivity ante. Good God.
You know, I was really enjoying my
Have you finished the paragraph?
I-
Some of my favorites are the one where there isn't even any fighting or action, because that's what people play Spider-Man for, but rather Spidey just doing friendly neighborhood Spider-Man stuff. Like when he helps a gay kid arrange a series of surprises around campus for his boyfriend.
Why would I play this game?
Yeah, why? I'm reading this. God, it sounds so fun. I can't wait to go and help.
I love the commentary there, though. Haha, another 4chan hyperbolic woke game description. It's from an actual game review. Oh.
Yeah, and then it caps it all off with, this game makes for fantastic escapism. How? What am I escaping from?
That's what we live with.
I'm escaping from the real world into a colorful facsimile of the real world where you have all of the things that everybody wants. Well, the everything is promoted to us.
Yeah.
But now it has a nice, colorful, shiny Spider-Man veneer over it, and things, New York works, apparently.
I've made progressivism work. It's in a video game, but
Video game. Finally, if we have Spider-Man webbing the whole thing together and just gripping on both sides like Tobey Maguire trying to make progressivism work. Arrgh! That's how you do it.
Yes, if we literally make it fictional, it can work.
Yeah, and sadly, this is a real review. This is from the Financial Post,
Average games reviewing site.
average games reviewing site, yes. And they missed out some other good little details here. So they say, at one point, someone says they want to pay Spider-Man for his services. And he replies that Spider-Man never accepts payment, except for hugs. He'll always take a hug.
was it a pedo?
I don't think that's supposed to be the
He
implication.
was helping children earlier.
Well, I suppose maybe it's the gay guy, maybe he's wanted to show how inclusive he is. It's also worth noting that our hero or heroes, and this is just a great admission of the fact that this game is not made for anybody to just play it and
It's
enjoy
just not
it.
made for anybody.
Yeah, it's not made. It's not made for anybody to play and enjoy and go, wow, I can't believe I'm in a magical fantasy world. No, it just says they also serve as a talking point for the game's progressive message.
Well, there we go.
But there you go. We get to play through as both 20-something Peter Parker and teenage Black Puerto Rican Miles Morales. There's no paternalistic talking down from Peter to Miles. They are equal in every way, because we wouldn't want the game reaffirming hierarchy between like a master and a student or anything like that.
Even definitionally, no one's. Oh, whatever. Why am I trying?
I
Literally fake progressivism.
I know, it's just ridiculous. Anyone who refuses to play Spider-Man 2 simply because of its pro-people vibe, it's pro-people. If you don't want to play
I'm
this,
anti-people.
yeah, you're anti-people now.
Totally.
It's going to be denying themselves one of the most entertaining games of the year. I'll live.
Yeah, I'll just have to live with that.
I'll live.
I'll just be crusading in the Middle East.
And then, very shockingly, very little of this review is dedicated to talking about the actual game,
Oh, really?
the actual
There's a game
gameplay part of this.
plugged onto this progression.
I thought it was a series of slides of pride flags and Spider-Man, high-fiving trans people and arresting transphobes for mean tweets or something. But no, there is a game involved in this as well. And then, and then they say, it plays really great. It's so great, except I never noticed a lag or stutter while zipping about. The game did unexpectedly quit on me a few times. So it crashed. It crashed on you. But I took that, this is incredible, I took that as evidence that Insomniac, the developers, are pushing boundaries with this one.
What?
The game crashed.
The game's a buggy mess. Yeah, well, they're pushing boundaries, you see.
That's a sign of quality, don't you know? I'm pretty sure Insomniac might have written this review themselves. And I think Insomniac, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think they're the guys who did Spyro. They did the original Spyro games back in the day. And now they're doing this. Now they're doing this.
When did Spyro come out?
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, there we go. So 20 years ago, it's probably an entirely different studio.
It's probably entirely different people inside of it. But it's just annoying to me that game studios can get away with this, where you have the name of an incredibly prestigious game studio that's produced some classics in the past. It's filled with completely different people. None of whom have anything to do with the success.
You are correct.
It has. Yeah, they did Spyro. But they can still get away with calling themselves, we're the guys that made Spyro. No, you're not.
Black Isle, man. I used to love Black Isle.
Black Isle, they did the Fallout
Gate and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Fallout. They used to do so much great stuff, and then they just created.
And the last thing I remember about Black Isle is they became Fallout New Vegas developers. What are they called?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head.
You know the ones I'm talking about.
I do know the ones.
And they did Fallout New Vegas, and they kept getting shafted by having games that they were going to make the best game ever, but they had increasingly small time limits to be able to produce them. Still produced classics like Fallout New Vegas that were just buggy messes.
Obsidian Entertainment?
Yeah, Obsidian. That's it. That's the last thing I remember about them. And then the last game that they made was Outer Worlds, which also, as far as I'm aware, has lots of progressive messaging in it, but not as much as Starfield.
Oh, well, there we go.
Which is just boring.
Would you like the pride flag or the racial pride flag on your video game?
Decisions.
Yeah, but...
God, I love being a gamer.
Again, the Pope has just declared a crusade on Cairo in my game. I'm just saying, which would you rather play?
That is pretty cool. But, it makes you wonder, like you say, this game isn't intended for anybody, really, nobody who will actually play video games. But who do they think they're developing it for? Well, they think they're developing it for the same people that say that the first one from 2018 was pro-cop. Why?
I guess it is. I guess that's true.
Why, you may ask? Because Spider-Man, at some points, helps the police.
Yes, I'm sure Kate Harold there is a big fan of video games.
Yeah, so they're designing it for these sorts of people because they came out in interviews and said, we didn't intend for it. We didn't intend to be pro-cop in this game where you fight crime. Makes perfect sense to be.
Pro-criminal. What's Spider-Man going to go in there and be like, yeah, are you
Did Insomniac put out BLM during 2020? Because if so, they are literally pro-criminal.
I mean, there's a smash and grab going on. Spider-Man swings in, wraps up all of the loot that they got and helps them carry it away.
He turns around.
Thank you, Spider-Man, for being on the side of justice.
He turns around and calls the police bigots.
Yeah, webs them to the wall so the looters can get away.
If they'd only had their physical needs provided for them by the state, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, socioeconomic factors. Unbelievable.
So they're basically making this game for Redditors.
Yeah.
And how do you know that they're really making the game? Well, because they put the bloody Spider-Man point meme in the game. If you run into Miles Morales as part of the game, you can run up to him and you go, point.
Oh, wow. I've seen that meme.
And all of Reddit went absolutely wild. Woo. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And here's where I get onto the graphics. Because like I say, you can see from some of these clips, wow, those are some pretty photorealistic graphics.
Oh, great.
Pretty nice graphics. But when you zoom in...
Piss stop? What?
I think it's meant to be.
Please stop. Please stop.
Okay. It's just another one of those places where they're pushing the boundaries and not creating bugs. Okay?
Yeah, but you can see how photorealistic, how much effort must have gone into the graphics.
Maybe it's just a realistic depiction of how little effort is put into the painting on the thing in New York.
But how much effort did they put into the faces, particularly Mary Jane's face?
Well, this is one of the problems that the photorealistic graphics have had.
Look at that For one, in the first game, she looked nothing like this. She actually looked like a pretty redhead, like you would expect it to.
Yeah.
And they decided, because games companies now are filled with middle-aged spinster women.
Yeah.
And we can't have attractive women in our games anymore. Yeah. Let's make her this.
You know what? I bet she looks exactly like one of the developers.
Probably. I've seen the facial model that they used for her, and she looks nothing like her.
Because in all of the sort of like, millennial remakes of everything, they're basically self-inserts of unattractive women.
And look at that. Look at that. So that's Peter, and that's his elderly grandmother.
Yeah, I love that they're basically trying to degrade women. So women aren't they ugly and kind of weird looking? Like Peter Parker looks pretty normal, like average looking guy. But why doesn't she look like she's 70? Like, why not? Like,
we're breaking down boundaries.
Have you seen women? It's like literally, it's like what a misogynist would do to disgrace women if they were trying to.
So an army of chudjacks has taken over Insomniac. And they say billions must refund.
Yeah.
They don't want it to succeed anymore. We're taking it down from the inside.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So yeah, the moral of this particular part of the story is don't buy this game. I don't even know if it's out yet. I've just been seeing these reviews and these screenshots that make me go, don't buy this game.
One of the things I love about this though is the sort of like, the progressive, the past was never good. Everything was always awful. No, there's never been attractive women. Women
have never been attractive.
We can't represent attractive women anyway.
All of the women who rejected me, they weren't attractive anyway.
Women were always transgender.
Yeah, we've got Mark Watson here.
Why are they doing? And
Joe Watson.
This is hardly the first time that they've done this either, right? There have been loads of high-profile games where the women characters in it.
Yeah, the interesting thing, mostly they're Sony games, for one. So there might just be some mandate from up high from Sony going, no attractive women. No, we can't be having
unless you're
that.
a Japanese developer.
Unless you're one of our Japanese developers. In that case, make them as sexy as possible.
Is it the evil queen from Snow White who's currently in charge of Sony or something?
No, Sony being a Japanese company, they might just be trying to sabotage the Western market and sell more of their domestic games.
Who's the fairest on the wall? It's like, oh, look, the video game character. No, make her foul.
Because Horizon did the same thing, where the first game, the main character wasn't like a stunner or anything, but she looked like a pretty average girl next door type. Yeah. And then they made her face fatter, chubbier, more masculine, more pronounced jaw and chin. And they spent a lot of processing power putting peach fuzz on her cheeks. Can you imagine? Like 20 years ago, they were going, imagine the developments in gaming that we'll have 20 years from now. What we'll be doing. And then the developers just use it to put peach fuzz on the women's faces. Oh, how disappointing the future must be for people like yourself.
You feel represented, ladies.
Maybe, but don't buy this game. What you should instead buy is a subscription to our website.
That's correct.
This is true. This is actually a free article. So if you want to try before you buy to see what the kind of quality that we put out, then you can check out this recent article that I did where I was talking about brief history of blackwashing, talking about race swapping within media, because being Black History Month, I thought
is it?
Yeah, it's October in the UK. Yeah, it's February in America, October in the UK, but in the UK, because we're little America, we still have to celebrate it kind of in February anyway.
It's weird. I haven't seen anything about it.
I think the news has been overtaken with a few other things at the moment.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess.
But I discuss in this not just examples of characters being race swapped, but I also talk about a lot of the top-down imposition of you have to do this.
Yeah.
And once again, with these games companies, it is from the top down. The games companies have decided women are no longer attractive. You're no longer allowed to have attractive women. All of your heroes are black now. That's
women ugly. People in charge black.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Who's the new boss exactly?
Yeah, exactly. What?
An ugly black woman, presumably. Speaking of which, in Ofcom, I point out, not saying that you should draw any association there, but I point out in this article that Ofcom have guidelines for television programs and all sorts of media that they regulate, saying that you must demand that broadcasters commission content with diverse stories and voices. So, from the top down, if you're regulated by Ofcom, then you have to insert progressivism. You have to insert.
If it helps, right? We have a lot of diversity on this show.
We do.
We talk about diversity every single day.
Yeah, we have a diverse
Does it say you have
range
to
of
do it
opinions.
positively or negatively? Like,
To be fair, it doesn't, specify.
right?
I kind of have an idea of which way they'll push it.
GPs are like, we report lots of crimes. I don't know.
All I'm saying is when Ofcom come for us and they're like, you don't have any diversity on your show, we're like, au contraire. This is how bad London is now.
We have an Irishman.
No. We feature diversity all the time. We cover it nonstop.
This is very true. But speaking of Ofcom, their diversity bit back because diversity, it turns out, as we've covered, is diverse and also has a diverse range of opinions and beliefs.
Diversity has a hierarchy.
Diversity certainly does have a hierarchy, and it's very clear to see who's higher and lower.
Yes.
When Ofcom's director for online safety supervision, so presumably the woman that was about to smash us as soon as this comes into power.
Israel's like, no.
Thank you,
Thanks, Israel.
Jumped in the way and got her suspended. I thought it was fired at first, but it's suspended because she liked to post calling the British government's support for Israel a vile colonial alliance and calling the Jewish nation an apartheid state.
Just suspended.
She's just been suspended.
She's not fired.
Not been
They
fired.
can say that women exist.
Yeah. Like, I probably would have got some sort of hate crime record for saying something like that.
She just gets a slap on the wrist and some time out. Sit on the naughty step for us.
And then you can go back to managing the country's media.
And she was only, Fadzai Madzingira, she was only appointed in June.
Yeah,
so it took her about 4 months.
But the Conservatives are in charge of this.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a single leftist, insane, bonkers, batty leftist that they won't put in charge of an important institution?
No.
That seems to be the only answer.
No, because Labour passed the Equality Act, and God damn it,
we're going to enforce it.
Yeah,
There isn't anything more sacred to us.
The Conservatives will never do anything if it's not enforcing Labour policies to the nth degree.
I tell you what, man, I can't wait for the Farageist takeover. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Because she described herself as a Zimbabwean, black feminist, a student of decolonization. So no wonder she was liking the posts that she was after we've learned what decolonization actually looks like. And a deep believer in liberty for all.
So glad she's in charge.
I feel like there's a contradiction with that.
I'm a libertarian totalitarianist.
Yeah, it just came completely out of nowhere. Okay, so you're crazy leftist, crazy libertarian.
Isn't it so weird that we're putting someone who actively identifies as Zimbabwean in charge of British media?
Like, British media.
Well, we've always got along with Zimbabwe.
I'm not saying we haven't. Obviously, there's deep historic ties with Zimbabwe, but it'd be like going to Peru and then being like, yeah, so we're putting a Chinese guy in charge of the media of this country. It's like, why? Why would you want that? Like, whose idea was this? Like,
what the trade we do with Zimbabwe?
Well, it was the Conservatives' idea.
Yeah, exactly. Why the right wing parties like, yeah, so we're just going to put some rando who's an insane left winger.
Some insane leftist in charge of an organization that regulates our television, the propaganda arm of the government, basically. That already has really strict guidelines on forcing diversity into all of your stories. You don't want black Anne Boleyn? Well, sorry, this regulation here says you're getting Anne Boleyn.
You know who should be in charge of what the citizens of your nation can say and do? A foreigner. A foreigner who's bonkers, absolutely mental, and wants to eradicate Israel. Why not that person? I can think of lots of reasons, actually.
Well, I don't want to cause a fuss.
Yeah, I suppose there is that.
It makes perfect sense to me. Damn. And if they didn't do it, it wouldn't be very British of them, would it? If the Conservatives didn't push leftist policies, it wouldn't be very conservative or British of them.
That's very true.
Yeah, and well, the problem is because elsewhere in pop culture and the media, even if you do have the original creators, even if you have the people whose babies, this was my project, they still go along with all of this because they have completely imbibed intersectional Kool-Aid. Like, I don't know if you watched the other year the Invincible cartoon on Amazon Prime, I think it was. Well, they took a very popular character who, if I scroll down, looks like this blonde, blue-eyed woman in the comic book.
She's too attractive.
And they turned her into this. And not only did they do that, they also changed her personality entirely. So
she's got to stop being happy, and now she's got. I mean, look at the facial features; she's just smiling.
Here you can see that she's just finding out that her boyfriend is a superhero, and she's like, "Oh wow, this is really cool. I'm really happy that you're going out and helping people."
Now she's miserable.
In this, she figures out before he tells her, and then of course, and then freaks out that he kept ditching her dates so that he could go and save people's lives, despite the fact that she already knew that he was a superhero and just didn't tell him that he figured out. And the creator of the original comic book, Robert Kirkman, who also was behind the Walking Dead comics, has basically said, oh, it's perfectly fine that they've done this to my creation because we have to recognize a couple of dumb white guys made this comic book in the early 2000s.
No, good point, actually. He deserves to not have anything.
Yeah. And
I don't want to hear from dumb white guys. I think he's got a good point there.
He said that he and artist Ryan Otley failed to make the original comics sufficiently diverse, particularly by modern standards.
And imagine,
imagine just thinking to yourself, beating yourself up over the fact that, I couldn't imagine where social trends were going in the next 20 years. How terrible of me.
But that means this isn't sufficiently diverse for 2100.
That is, of course, true.
Yeah, 20 years from now, these guys are going to be kicking themselves.
I'm just thinking about the concept of representation book club that we did, right, on the website. So, okay, what's being represented? Okay, well, the white girl is happy, supportive, and kind, and she wants to help her boyfriend. They are representing the black girl as being resentful and difficult. That's what they think. When they're making present, black girls are like, oh yeah, well, she's got to be really difficult to deal with. And basically
she's got to be a really combative, aggressive, loudmouth who won't shut up. She goes on and on about how she's going to go to literally study a social justice course in university.
And they're all like, yeah, okay, great, that's representation. That's what black people are like. It's like, is that really what you think, you know?
Would you be surprised if I told you Seth Rogen produced this?
I'd be disappointed.
It's true. He also he produced all of The Boys, which has slowly been going down a massive slope as well.
Well, season 1 was funny, but the rest of it's
trash. Yeah, season 1 was all right, and then 2 and 3 rubbish.
But great.
And you get the same thing elsewhere. You've got people saying, "Oh, we need to benefit to the broaden cast for representation of Percy Jackson," which I don't.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? That's all these people believe in. All they believe in is we just need more black people. The more black people, the higher the Rotten Tomatoes score.
I'm full on accelerationist at this point. No. They all need to be trans. Every character in your show needs to be trans, actually. You know, possibly from Mars. You know, like full on. No. I want full spectrum diversity and representation in everything ever, all the time, because it's going to cause you to crash and burn.
Well, if we can't have them all trans, we need to have them all at least be black first. Because do you know who else was black? Jesus was black.
Oh, for God's sake!
Because of course,
I thought it was bad enough that Robin Hood was black, but no.
Of course, it was. This was
Anne Boleyn.
This was actually really hilarious because the film is being done by
Jesus is black and resentful.
It's a Mel Gibson movie to wake people up.
No, it's being backed by Jay-Z. It's being directed by some guy, James Samuel, who directed a film called The Harder They Fall.
Is that John the Baptist as well?
Yeah, that's probably John the Baptist. It's called The Book of Clarence. This isn't Jesus. This is Clarence, who decides to basically steal Jesus' shtick to try and make some money.
Right. But really? Does he?
But don't worry. If you watch the trailer, Jesus is still black.
Okay.
Everyone in Jerusalem was black because we was Israelites and.
Great point.
Yeah.
More diversity is needed, I think.
And I just wanted to highlight.
Can we talk about colorism? Because their skin isn't actually that dark as black people.
Well, they're African Americans.
Exactly.
They're not black.
Is that real representation? You know, people from Nigeria, they're going to be like, well, you're oppressing me by being...
Nigerians are light-skinned blacks.
They're not that light-skinned.
We got to talk South Sudan.
Okay.
If there's no South Sudanese representation, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to, before I finish this off, because of the Jay-Z association, they talk in Bounding Into Comics in this article about Jay-Z a bit, and there's some insane stuff in here that I didn't know got on recently, and I just wanted to highlight it. So he's talking about the film, and he says that what happened when we, people of color and powerful women like my wife, who I've cheated on a number of times, occupy and inhabit a space, I knew I had to put our spin on it and inject our flavor into it. Rapper Jay-Z would double down on his claims and further push the narrative that black people were in fact the center of biblical Jerusalem.
I agree.
No,
that's totally true.
You know, go ahead.
They're not just stealing the setting. These people doing it are actually insane enough to think that's real.
Yeah, noting the director is fearless and a genius. He's not afraid to think big about things.
We was prophets.
That put us as a people in places where we were erased. Not that we weren't before, that we always were, and we were erased from it. He said, we didn't exist.
That's right.
That's literally what this is. That's what this is.
I support this 100%.
He said, "We didn't exist in Western times, ? We all know that's false. No, nobody's saying that you never exist.
No, not even joking. When was the last time you
What's
really
Western times as well, actually?
When was the last time you laughed at a comedian like you're laughing now, right?
That's why this is hilarious. I'm in full support of it.
Totally. More, please.
And we
That's right, Jay-Z.
we didn't exist in biblical times. History would say otherwise. Okay.
Yeah, it does.
All right. And then it goes on to say, Jay-Z, who has been the subject of theories claiming that the rapper is a member of a secret society of elites founded by religious leader Clarence Edward Smith, who might be who this film is about, because it's the Book of Clarence, who view themselves as gods.
You know what?
Amazing.
I don't want to take anything away from them.
Recently opened the Book of Hove exhibit in Brooklyn, New York, as a celebration of his own life. The exhibition
Celebrating my own life
includes
it's totally normal.
Includes the
not weird.
rapper's very own Book of Psalms, which is 30
Book
years,
of Psalms, bro.
which is 30 years of Jay-Z lyrics written and displayed as if they are biblical scripture from God himself. I need to show the Book of 99 Problems. In these sacred words, you will find a bitch not in a single one. I mean, this is a real.
No laughing, please. I am a god.
This is,
I'm not even the son of God.
No, I named this segment "Escapism Is Dead." It's not. It's not, because this is real escapism. I too wish I could escape into psychosis like Jay-Z.
Is Mel Gibson on Fiverr? Because I want to pay him to endorse this.
Yeah.
So escapism isn't dead after all, and we should all go and give the Book of Clarence our money, not Spider-Man 2.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium videos, this one on how we can win the culture war, a speech of the Witten from Carl Benjamin. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.